Okay, we are streaming.
Good morning.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Let's welcome to the Virgin Authors Facebook program. We are three friends bonded by our love of writing, struggling to navigate the publishing world. Writing can be a lonely profession, and we've decided that supporting each other and other authors along the way is just as important, if not more important, than our daily word count. My name is Mandy McGuire, and I'm a Virgin author.
Hey, Mandy, I'm Jana Vandelar, and I'm an old Virgin author. So,
Hi, and I'm Lissa. Welcome to the show.
And I would love to introduce our guest. ZIBBY Owens is an author, podcaster, publisher, CEO, and mother of four. She is the founder of ZIBBY Owens Media, a privately held media company designed to help busy people live their best lives by connecting to books and each other. There are three divisions of her media company: ZIBBY Books, a publishing house for fiction and memoir; Zcast, a podcast network; and ZIBBY's award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. And then there is a new content community site, including ZIBBY's virtual book clubs, events, and the former Moms Don't Have Time to Write. She's the author of her children's book, Princess Charming, and her newly released memoir, Bookends, a memoir of love, loss, and literature. And we are so thankful to have her on our show today. Yay. Thank you, ZIBBY.
Hey, ZIBBY. Thank you, ladies, for having me. This is so nice, especially being with three ZIBBY Books ambassadors. This is like a dream come. It's just so wonderful. So thank you so much.
Yay, absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and start the first question off for you. You wrote, so there's quite a few things in your memoir, Bookends, that we have all read,
Awesome.
that we each got very different experiences when we were reading. And you wrote in your book, I met a literary agent named Rachel who soon ended up representing me. She was also a parent at one of your children's schools. I wanted to hate you when I read that, right? And I love you just the same. I wish I had met somebody at my children's school that has any connection to this publishing world, right? And so a lot of Virgin authors and friends that we have that we've met through conferences and critique groups, we don't have that experience. We are doing the cold queries to publishers in New York that don't even read our email, don't know who we are, and it's been a very long process.
Tell her how many queries you sent out, Mandy.
I sent, for just one of my 4 books, I sent 85 cold queries, or what I would consider warm queries. And then my queries didn't get me my agent. My agent came through a contest that I went through.
Wow.
So, you know, we all have different experiences, and some much harder than, you know, we met someone and then they ended up becoming our agent because of whatever great connection there. But even with all of your connections and resources, it wasn't easy for you to get your books published. So you're also a Virgin author, releasing your 2 books this year. Can you tell us how long you've been working on the stories and how long it took you to get published?
Yes, but back up for a second. What the story you're alluding to that made you think you wanted to hate me? No. So I was at my kid's school. I was late for orientation night, and I had to run through the transverse in Central Park, as I wrote about in the book. And and then I had this, like, I don't know, asthma attack or something. And I wrote an essay about it, which I sent around to the class after the fact, about how I almost felt like I almost died, like trying to get to curriculum night on time. And the next morning, a fellow mom, not a literary agent, she's a theater person. She just happened to be in the office next to my agent and said, the guy who sits in the next office is a literary agent. I can introduce you. So I would not say that qualifies me as having like enormous connections. I will say I had already had an agent from back when I tried to sell my book when I was like 25, 27 years old or something. But I also have gone through all those books and sent queries and done all the things. And, those giant yellow like Bibles, this is back in the day before the internet. When I was like,
remember all those books.
right. Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about? Like,
I'm old. I've been there.
right.
So
You're all okay. Great. Thank you for,
No, I know what you're saying.
but that's the way it was when I started out. It was like going through these giant agent books and trying to
And
figure out how.
mailing it in. Remember
Yeah.
when you would mail them in with
Oh yeah. I had to every page loose leaf in a white box from the copy shop and
card. Yeah.
right. And I was like, wow, I'm sending this out 6 times. That's a lot.
Yeah,
Now it's like,
I know. You're human. That makes us feel better. We love you more.
of course I'm human. Oh my gosh. And this has been such a struggle to do this. I mean, I have had so many failures. It's like, it's so funny. Like people meeting me now thinking that like, oh, look at all this. Like, this is crazy to me that this is all happening. And I have been working for my entire adult life on all these things and never really believed any of it would really happen. I have taken endless classes. I've tried to meet people. My connections, so to speak, are not in this world at all. My mom knew like 2 people who were writers or journalists, maybe 3, maybe my dad knew 1 or 2 when I was starting out. And so anyway, that is not what has ended up helping.
Well,
So
I mean,
don't be jealous on that. I'll say that.
no, I mean, we do know of a lot of people that have connections, and I tend to stalk agents, don't worry about it. No, I'm not. But it's like, oh, that's how come, it's easy to say that's why. It's an easy thing. So I'm glad that we cleared that up, because it is hard for everybody, and everybody's got their own path, no matter what.
And by the way, when I was 27 or whatever, trying to sell my first book, the people I knew who I asked to help me, like, hey, do you know anybody who's an agent that I could send? All those agents said no. So that did not feel good either.
Yeah.
So just because you have a connection or an introduction to someone, I mean, think about it from the agents. Now that I've gotten to know agents more and on the publishing side more, it's not like people are sitting around being like, I really need another new author pitch today. They're already so busy and hardworking, and it's a risk. One letter, what does that even say? How do you get someone's attention enough to convince the person? It's like applying for a job. It's such an unknown quantity.
Yeah,
So anyway,
absolutely. So
But
tell
I
us how
thought-
long it's taken you to get published and writing your stories.
Yeah.
the first time I wrote a full book was, I guess actually I was 28. 27, 28. I had graduated from business school while I was there. And we spoke about this a little before. I had lost my best friend who worked in the North Tower on 9/11. And that fundamentally changed me, my life, everything. She was my best friend. We had lived together for many years, and she just disappeared into thin air. No closure. Just, I assumed she was on the floor where she worked, which is the floor the first plane hit, but who knows? She could have been anywhere, and we just never found anything. There was nothing ever found. It's all in the book. Yes.
It's amazing. That's what
It's so hard.
It's so sad, but it's so well written. It's so beautifully written. So go ahead. Yeah. So
that is a story I've been trying to get out in book form since it happened. I wrote it as a memoir after I graduated in 2003, but there were too many personal things in it that I ended up rewriting it as a novel and trying to sell it as a novel, which ultimately didn't sell. But I still had the story. And that year I wrote that whole thing like 4 times, start to finish. Just let me try it this way. Let me try it this way. Let me try it this way. Let me try it this way.
Wow.
So I wrote all that. And then over time, I kept coming back to these same themes and stories. My own life, the ending kept changing, right? With how I thought the ending was going to play out, but my life has ended up changing a lot. And when I got married, I had my kids, I got divorced, and then I had more time to go back to writing when I had these weekends off of being with my kids. And I'm like a very hands-on mom, and contrary to thinking that my husband hadn't picked up the kids, which he had.
that was
So
funny.
I had all this free time and I could get back into it. And so I wrote another memoir, which was the second part of life, which is kind of 40 Love, about falling in love again at 40. And then I was like, I really want it all to come together, like this piece of my life, that piece, it's all how do I structure my story, which seems like different books, like everybody's life could be so many different books. So,
Right.
so then I rewrote it again, and then I tried different things along the way. I like spent this one flight that was 11 hours long and wrote like a novella. I mean, I tried writing a prose poem. Like I did like, that was, I've tried this in so many formats in so many ways. And ultimately I just had to tell it in my voice as my own story. It's like I danced around that for so long, and some things I wasn't ready to share before. And I guess I just hadn't gotten to the ending yet, and I had to wait until I was, and now it's all coming out at the perfect time. So
yeah, because a lot of us rewrite and try to repurpose it to what it's really beautiful that you did that too. I mean, and to hear that, because sometimes people just say, I sat down and wrote it in 20 minutes, and and just to have all those different perspectives of how you.
Oh my gosh, no.
Well, but the bottom line is, it took you 20 years to become an overnight success, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And I did I took 11 years off to raise my kids, and I wrote some freelance articles along the way, but I really was with them that whole time. But since I've pressed go, it's been like this outpouring. Not outpouring is the wrong word. It's been sort of relentless work, and building and working hard. And so even that overnight success piece, it's been 4.5 years almost, since I started my podcast, at least. And probably since I met with an agent who ended up not being my agent for much longer. But anyway, about this book. So anyway, it is not an overnight success at all. The crazy thing is I just sold a novel, and it's coming out in 2 years. I've written, and I sold it on like a partial submission, and things have been so crazy with Bookends coming out, and the publishing company I run really demanding a lot of my time, and still doing podcasts 7 days a week, and all this stuff, that it's like my editor will get in touch with me. She's like, about, how's the writing? And I'm like, oh my God, the novel, that would have been my whole life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I forgot to post about the novel yesterday. Like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Like, this is so nuts. These things I wanted for so long. So,
okay, so that's a perfect segue to our next question, which is, we've talked about what an intense schedule you keep, and people often ask how you manage to do it all. And few of our listeners or ourselves are wearing quite so many hats, but we do have equally busy schedules, and we wonder if you have some practical tips for how to carve out those little bits of time to write.
Yeah. Any hints?
Little
5-hour energy drink, is that?
I mean, Mandy dictates to herself in the car driving home from work. And
I must say, I feel like I have a full-time job already, and my days are already crammed in. I have other tips for those days. The writing, I do it almost all on the weekends at nights. Before I had this whole big thing, I used to fit it in around my kids. So I would do it in doctors' waiting rooms and on the floor while they played. I would have my laptop open on my lap and just, be sitting down with them. And, so I used to, when my kids were really little, do it like that, just anywhere they were. Usually I really like to write in the early mornings. If I had my druthers, the whole thing would be written between like 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. But because I just like wake up and want to get stuff done and have a lot of energy then. And then it kind of diminishes the whole rest of the day until I'm like, why do people want to get together at like 8:30 at night? Are you kidding? Like, forget it. I'd rather have a breakfast meeting. So for me, when I try to force it into my work week, I cannot do it. Not that this isn't work, but for me, this is like a different energy and stuff. So I do it. I try to do most of it the weekends I don't have my kids, especially early in the mornings. So I have to get back into that now that I have this due in March, getting back on the schedule. I've tried putting it in my calendar during the week, and I cannot carve out the time, but I'm sure I'm not alone in that. And so many people have full-time jobs. So
that makes us feel good again, because because ideally when mine was really little, I wrote at night because that was good for me. And then when she got older, I wrote at the horse stables because she was taking horseback riding,
Yeah.
and my stomach would be too big for the computer to sit on top. But I mean, you figure it out, I guess, as you go, and that makes us feel better again, that
It does,
I
because
think you just have to figure out your own schedule, basically. Yeah.
and so many of the writing craft books, when they talk about writing, they tell you, okay, you must lock yourself in the room first thing in the morning and do your 2,000 words. And it's
Every
like,
day.
that doesn't work for women.
Doesn't me, for sure.
It doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me.
I was
also-
listening to your
Oh,
podcast
good
with
to know.
James Patterson, and it was, I mean, he just knocks them out. I mean, what, and maybe, and I don't mean to be anti-minnow, but do you think men just can separate and they're like, this is my business and that's it? Whereas we're
Well,
just,
but
like, we're moms, or, I don't
That
know.
is his business though. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like he, I was like, what if I wasn't doing all these other things and I was an actual author all the time? How would I do my days?
Right, yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that would be a different conversation.
You're right.
But that's not what my life is like, and not what a lot of authors' lives are like. That's the rare person, right? And I do also think that all the other inputs of life help you write better.
That's true.
Like having a lot. I mean,
Absolutely.
some people don't want that stimulation. I know for me, I need all that. I need lots of things going on. Like I like having 4 kids. Do you know what I mean? Like I like doing lots of things. I'm like that. I don't know why, but that is how it works better for me,
Yeah.
having lots of stuff going on. So,
Well,
yeah, I think for most people, weekends, like I can't write at night, but maybe I shouldn't admit that that's when I do my emails when I'm like most tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
You fit it in, and you fit it in around your kids. And I was joking with my editor Carmen, who now knows me really well after writing this book together, Bookends, and editing it with me. She's like, I was like, Carmen, I have not opened this Word doc since we first started talking about it, and I wrote like a big chunk of it to sell. And she's like, it's okay. And I was like, she's like, maybe in September. And I'm thinking to myself, September, that's like the worst time ever to get anything done.
School
Not
starts.
with children.
It's like, no way. September is like almost as bad as December.
Yeah.
Anyway, and she's like, whatever, you're going to like write the whole thing over like 1 week of Christmas break when you don't have the kids. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably end up doing something like that. Right? Because I feel like I need that whole, I need a little more time. I can't just like get into it. I can write an essay. Like essays, I'm fine. I can easily write, and I still do that around the kids all the time, but essays are easy. But like having to go back, what did I write already? What was going on? What should happen next? Like that takes, even just like reorienting myself and settling in. By the time I do all that, it's like time to get up and do something else. So I need more, I need bigger blocks.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Well, I would just add on to what Lissa said, all the so-called experts and all the craft books and all the conferences, they tell you what she was saying, and it's always every day by yourself, close the door. Well, every author that I talk to, that it's not their only business, we don't have time to do that. We have to find the little scraps. I have to talk into my phone on my drive home from work.
Mhm.
And I'll say this last week I was struggling. And so I went back to the old set a timer for 20 minutes and do literally nothing else. Well, it worked for me, because then once I got into that 20 minutes, then I was ready to keep going and I was in the mood. But it was the, how do I have time? I don't have time. We end up making it when it's really important to us.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
we
one-
have a really good group of people to help us. We do the shut up and write type of thing with a really good, we have several between us, but we have one very strong group, and that helps you sit down. You're like, okay, well, they're doing it. I guess I
Yeah.
just will shut up and write. And before we lose time, we did want to know about your publishing house, ZIBBY Books. It's awesome. And I loved that you were thinking outside the box. That's what intrigued me, because I love people that it's like, you know what, this doesn't completely work for everybody. So let me just think of how to create a new publishing house. And so I guess we just kind of wanted to hear a little bit about, your dreams for ZIBBY Books, and how will your publishing house be different from the other ones? I know you look stressed, so don't.
No,
talk about your husband instead.
No, it's fine. It's, it's a startup, and we have startup like issues, and it's great and exciting. I've learned so much, like so much. Every day I'm learning. I'm learning a lot on my podcast too, which I also love.
I love your podcast. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. It's okay. So we're publishing fiction and memoir, mostly upmarket, like quality commercial fiction and memoir. We've acquired 18 books and have 12 scheduled to come out the first year. 12 or 11 or yeah. Anyway, close enough to 12. I am shaking. I'm trying. I basically came at it after talking to so many authors about what the fundamental issues were with the publishing industry as it is now, and what the author experience was like. And as an aspiring author, and now I've had these 2 anthologies and 2 books, and along the way I've learned more from this point of view as opposed to just the interviewer or as the rejected author or whatever. It just seemed like there was so much that wasn't being addressed, like the author experience fundamentally, from pre-publication to post. And now I almost understand it more because it's so busy that I'm like just trying to keep my head on my shoulders as opposed to like doing frequent outreach communication. But I'm structured. I did everything to like structure the company differently, from profit sharing to having the authors all be part of a class, and like they will all have their profit shared as well, in addition to traditional royalties and everything. We have, as you know, 700 plus, we're trying to cap it there, ambassadors around the country who, in almost all 50 states, who are helping us when the books come out. And we are trying to do a lot of different, we have an indie bookseller advisory board, we have an author advisory board. We are doing interesting things with where we're selling books, partnering with different brands, just trying to come at it a little bit differently. And it's essentially what I really want to do is give people a year of reading. So the books that we're acquiring and putting into this schedule, so to speak, should meet your needs for a year, right? They're not all the same type of book.
Right.
It's like, here's more of a psychological drama followed by a lighter not beach read. We don't, just like different tempos. Because the way I like to read, like I think many people, is like once I finish some, dramatic, amazing memoir, I'd prefer to go to something else. And then I'd prefer to go to something else. And I guess this goes back, I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with me, but anyway, it's like a book club, right? It's almost like a book club in and of itself. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to help these authors, many of whom are debuts, launch. There are some things I've come up against in terms of the old way of doing things that are not changeable, despite my desire to change them. So it's constant pivoting. It's like, I literally some days feel like I'm in like a bumper car thing. Like I go in one direction and I get, and I'm like, okay, then I'm going to go in this direction. I'm going to do this. So I'm my foot is still like pressing down hard on the gas pedal. But I have had to do some maneuvering to figure out what we can change, what we can't. And then I have all these new things that come up. So I feel like we're really well positioned now. There's some exciting things around the corner. There's just, and the books are good. And I just, we'll see what happens. I'm just so excited to.
It's quite a thing to take on. I mean, God bless you. Because that's a huge thing. I mean, I tried to self-publish. And my one little tiny book, well, I actually have a series, but my little children's book, I thought, okay, I'll self-publish. It is so hard. And so I can't imagine juggling everybody and, everybody's books and the publicity. Yeah,
it's definitely a lot. I mean, I'm of the opinion these days, like I'll figure it out. Like when I have something I really want to do, like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. Like I'll figure it out.
Well, if there's anything we learned from reading your memoir, it's that once you set your mind on something, there is nothing that's going to stop you. So we we're really impressed, and we love the example you're setting for everyone.
Aw,
awesome.
thank you.
And I love how you segued all the books that you read into each chapter and how
Oh
they
yeah.
influenced you. That was beautiful. You guys have got to read this, whoever's on here, and they're her little children's book because of both of them. But yeah, Zibby's a talent.
Oh,
So-
and there's a whole reading list at the end of the book of
Yeah.
all the books she read during the year that she mentioned. So that was kind of interesting for me to go through and see how many of them I had read, because I read a lot, but you
are amazing.
Big
I
reader.
don't know how you have time to raise a kid or have a husband.
and you
Like, see ya.
remember all the books you wrote and what you read. It's
Right.
like, oh yeah, I read that. What was that one about again?
Mhm.
Yeah, you're
Good memory too.
something
Your
special.
podcast, everybody needs to listen to it. Moms don't have time to read books, which is totally opposite from what we're saying here. But
Okay,
Yeah.
so before we wrap it up, Zibby, was there anything in particular you'd like to say to our listeners?
Thank you for watching this, and
Yeah,
I hope you enjoy Bookends. I put my email at the end of the book in case, and I've been getting the most interesting messages from people, and it really is so exciting. And like you had started saying, different parts of the book, you responded to different parts.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting to. Like some people writing, "Oh my gosh, I totally responded to grief. I totally responded to the eating stuff. I totally responded to the friendship piece. I totally responded to," because really it's like all the stuff of life, right? I really responded to the motherhood piece, the dating piece, or, just all of it. So anxiety, depression, or whatever, remarriage, like there's people that, and then I think to myself, what if I had actually shared, like, I shared
real stuff. So,
no, I mean, there's just so much more. Like there's the whole
right.
life, like,
real stuff. Yeah.
oh my gosh,
You can't wrap up a whole life in a short
know.
number of
that's
pages.
why it's so funny to me, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I read it in like a night or two,"
Right, I did. Right.
Yeah, people are reading it very
quickly.
quickly, which I guess is good. But then I'm like, that was my whole life you just read in like an evening. What is that? It's really a crazy experience.
It's beautiful.
You're gonna have a
Inspiring,
second
'cause if you can
memoir
do all
towards
that, if you're inspiring, because if you can do all that and still, do the publishing, do your podcast, which is daily. I mean, it's like crazy how
Yeah,
you
did. I
a
recorded 12 this week. Yeah.
Yeah, you're amazing. So.
So
All right, well, we are about out of time for this
Oh, I think
episode.
so.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Zibby, for joining us. It has been a real pleasure, and we really appreciate your time, especially knowing how insanely busy you are.
well, we're all busy and we're all trying hard, and it's really wonderful to meet you and talk to people who also want to keep like giving back through their words. It's a unique compulsion we all have, and so it's nice to meet fellow aspiring authors and writers and all of it.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, please join us again on our regular time slot, third Thursdays of the month. This month on the 21st, we will have the amazing Angela Ford talk about her experience in publishing with small press. And that's 7 p.m. Pacific. Hope to see you there.
Yeah,
Have a great day.
and thanks again for joining in and reading. She's
Bye.
her podcast. Thanks, Zibby.